And this is News Extra on KNEB. 10 minutes here before 8 o'clock. We're going to visit about a pulse crop workshop coming up here in a few minutes. Brought to you today by Geering Civic Center. And with me this morning is John Thomas. John is with the Panhandle Research and Extension Center. Good morning. Welcome to the program.
Good morning. Thank you.
Let's visit about this upcoming, well, this is the time of year. Let's just start there for workshops and all kinds of winter meetings across the region. Lots of different topics. Our Farm and Ranch Expo among them coming up next month. But you've got one coming up here front and center at Bridgeport. Tell us about it.
So this is going to be a pulse crop workshop on January 17th at the Prairie Winds Community Center in Bridgeport. And we're going to be looking at field pea, black-eyed pea, chickpea, soybean, and fenugreek. And we have specialists from the University of Nebraska that will be talking about these various crops. And we'll be looking at results from variety trials on these crops. We'll be looking at disease management in these crops. Well, there's a new variety of chickpea that's going to be released, or that's in the process of being released right now, called New Hope, that's got a really good disease resistance to the Ascochyta blight, which has really shut down the chickpea production in our area in the past. So in addition to that, we're going to be looking at the agronomics of growing these, the field practices, the planting dates, populations, this kind of thing with these various crops.
Okay. So we can grow them, then can we market them? Are there markets for these crops?
There are markets for these crops, and there's growing to be the infrastructure in our area to handle these crops, and that is going to be discussed as well by some of the various companies that will be represented at this meeting. We've got Pulse USA, Great Northern Ag, Jelinek Custom Cleaning, New Alliance Seed, Prairie Sky Seed, Trinidad Benham, Meridian, and the North Central SARE are sponsors of this program, and there's going to be a lot of discussion on the economics of them as well.
Mm-hmm. So are we looking to replace acres with these crops or expand acres into the pulse crop world?
I see it replacing acres. Some of the things that people have put into some of the traditional crops, these are going to be alternatives. And some of these crops, like dry edible peas, for example, will use less water. And in some of our areas, we're getting more and more water restrictions. So by using and incorporating some of these crops in the rotation, growers can utilize less water.
Are any of these in dryland rotations?
Yes. Several of them can be in dryland rotations, like the dry edible peas are commonly grown dryland, and black-eyed pea, I think, has a little bit more disease resistance, or not disease, but drought resistance. So these are dryland options.
Yeah. All right. Again, the workshop is coming up in Bridgeport at Prairie Winds. Now, an all-day session, 9 to 4, is it?
Registration starts at 8:30. Sessions will go till 2. There's going to be a lunch included. The meeting is free. The lunch is free.
So therefore, you're going to need some pre-registrations, right?
We definitely need. Please pre-register by January 12th, and you'll call the Cheyenne County Extension Office at 308-254-4455. And the meeting is going to be concluded with a tour over at the New Alliance seed processing facility there in Bridgeport.
Oh, okay.
They split dry edible peas there. I don't know that their splitter will be operational at the time, but we'll be able to see that along with some of the dry bean processing that they do there.
Excellent. Well, that's always a big part of it. Is can we process it? Can we market it? Can we find a home for it? Because our producers can grow them. It's just a matter of will it work, and will it work in their rotations?
Yeah, exactly. And I think these crops are some good potential alternatives. There's no guarantee of making a lot of money on any of them, but at least you have more options, and you can kind of follow the markets in terms of demands and things that are worth more have more value.
We'll talk a little more about that with John, our guest, John Thomas, right after this.
Talk about experience. The Geering Civic Center has hosted over 1 million satisfied attendees in its 23-year history. We are going the extra mile every day to ensure every event goes off without a hitch. Ask anyone that has hosted an event at the Geering Civic Center, and they will tell you that our staff goes the extra mile to meet their needs. We are professional hosts who make sure everything is taken care of. Call 436-6888 or visit GearingCivicCenter.com and like us on Facebook.
On the News Extra program, our guest today is John Thomas. He's with Panhandle Research and Extension out at Scottsbluff, and a lot of things happening there at the center, and one of those is ongoing research with alternative crops, and that's kind of what we're talking about here today with this Pulse Crop Workshop coming up in Bridgeport on the 17th. Do need to get registered by Friday the 12th. If you would, contact Cheyenne County Extension, and they'll get you taken care of there. So you've got a head count for the meal and materials, I'm sure, to hand out as well. Let's talk a little bit about demand for these crops. There is the growing, I guess, healthy foods sort of movement, maybe, if that's the right word. And these certainly would help fill that bill, wouldn't they?
Yeah,
a lot of them would, anyway.
Some of these crops really do fit that bill. In fact, there's going to be a session on pea and fenugreek for human health, and we're going to be looking at also some plant disease issues and how to manage those. We're going to be looking at some pests, insect pests, and beneficial pests associated with these crops and how to manage those. There will be discussion about marketing and demand for the various crops that we're looking at here. We have some industry people that will be talking about their companies, how they're marketing and handling these crops, and the demand for these crops.
Excellent. Now, the one that I've not been very familiar with, fenugreek. Tell me about that.
Fenugreek is it's kind of a more common crop in Asia, and it's got some medicinal qualities. It's got some, it's a good for human consumption, eating it, the various parts and portions. And we have even, Deepak Santra has even looked at it concerning maybe the potential for grazing in our area. So it's an interesting crop that's been experimented with in our area, and Deepak will be talking about that.
Tell us a little bit about, and you mentioned that here with Deepak, but tell us a little bit about the research that is ongoing in these various fields. You have test plots for most of these crops or some of these crops?
Yeah, I think, we've had variety trials out with all of these crops, and they're looking at varieties, the season length that it takes to grow them, planting date, different agronomic facets of how to grow these, and most of all of them have been grown successfully in our area. Even soybean, which is more common in the eastern part of the state with higher humidity, warmer temperatures, warmer nights, there are some soybeans being grown out this way successfully. It's not a large crop by any means, but there is a potential there for an alternative crop out here in western Nebraska.
Yeah, and there are elevators that take them and market them, so there's
getting to be that infrastructure.
Yeah. All right, well, very good. Again, if folks want to find out more, what would they do?
They need to call and register on January 12th or by January 12th at the Cheyenne County Extension Office at 308-254-4455, and come and join us in Bridgeport.
All right, Bridgeport on the 17th at Prairie Winds Community Center. John Thomas, our guest. Thanks for coming by and visiting with us
about
this upcoming workshop. Appreciate it.